Okay. Hello, everybody. Please continue enjoying your lunch, and Scott and I will get started. And when did we first start talking about doing this interview?
Well, you were joking that it was when I wrote the first sentence, but it wasn't long after that. I think I was writing the first what became the first chapter.
See, what you're supposed to say is actually, Carol, I asked first if I could do a Q&A, and then I decided to write another novel.
Of course. Did I not say that? I beg your pardon.
Okay, but
I misspoke. Has become a very correct thing to say. Yeah.
But it brings an interesting point. That what was that? 2 years ago or more?
2 years ago. Yeah.
So when did you finish the book?
I finished the book. Well, of course, I always remember. I finished the book last May. Mm-hmm. We had waited about the same time, 2 years, to adopt our second daughter from China. And so you wait and wait for 2 years, and then they suddenly tell you you have 4 days to get over there. My wife and our oldest daughter actually preceded me. I had to do our NPR show on Saturday, and I flew over immediately after the show, and I actually finished the novel on the plane. It was more or less finished, but I went over the whole thing in 18 hours. I had enough time. And I landed in Shanghai and went to the hotel where my wife and our oldest daughter were staying, and all three of us hit the send button together and sent it into Random House.
Now, it's getting more, I mean, maybe publishing was always like this, but it makes me think of what it must be like. You know, you're always hearing actors, and you interview actors, that they're finally on the publicity tour for the film, but it's the film they did, you know, a year maybe before, and they're trying to remember, you know, what was that part I played, and how do I get back into that? But what is the wait like once you've written a novel, especially, you know, Windy City is very political and very contemporary. What is it like waiting and hoping nothing that happens that could render everything you've written, you know, irrelevant?
Well, it's a very anxious time. Now, I've been very fortunate in that I've written a political comedy set in Chicago, and you have the two principal candidates for president on the Democratic side are both Chicagoans. Wonderful. And my principal character is an Indian immigrant, Sundaran Sunny Rapini, and no sooner do I kind of get that down than, of course, the son of Indian immigrants is elected governor of Louisiana. So things have been breaking our way, but it's an anxious time, to say the least.
You said in an interview, and I've read and listened to so many, I don't know which one, I'd like to give credit, but it all blends together, but you said that you thought Indians made particularly good political candidates. I thought that was an interesting observation.
I think they have some of the same, they bring potentially some of the same assets into American politics that the Irish did. Although the numbers of the immigration are certainly much smaller now, the Irish came to this country with an eloquent command of English and experience in their own rambunctious political system back home. That's what Indian immigrants bring to this country too, this absolutely sometimes flabbergasting command of English compared to those of us who were born here, and certainly experience in a take-no-prisoners political system back home. So I think, should they choose to pursue it, a lot of Indian immigrants could have quite a future here.
But your character, do you think that he presents a typical Indian personality? Because you say take no prisoners.
Well, it's a country of 1 billion people.
No, I'm thinking
Indian personality.
Yes, but there's a point here. That believe it or not.
Of course there is.
Believe it or not.
Yeah,
but you talk about take no prisoners, but he's not aggressive or conventional. He's not. He may be playing hardball, but you don't see it. And is that because of his background?
Well, he's a very accomplished politician, albeit a Chicago alderman. So the nation, for that matter,
and an oil on the water style.
Yes, superbly accomplished, but in a way that sort of keeps itself, doesn't call attention to itself. And typical, I don't know. I must say, years ago when I was a reporter based in India, I, of course, would cover Indian politicians, and I was astounded sometimes at the subtlety and intricacies with which they maneuvered around that system. And so I think that definitely was working on my mind.
And you'll all get the book and you'll all read it, but there is that about
I hope you all get the book.
Well, of course you'll get it. You're not allowed to leave.
It's frankly less interesting to me. By all means, get it, though. Please,
we lock the doors, and you're not allowed out if you don't have the book in your hand. But one of the things he's doing is that he's always moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's all this. It is a lot of. It is like making lace.
He's the vice mayor of the city, and he's shrewd enough to understand the mayor of the city, when he's appointed vice mayor, is African American and a South Sider,
and with a very large personality.
Very large personality, gargantuan personality.
Gargantuan personality.
And he understands that part of the reason that he was appointed to be vice mayor, which he says is mostly ceremonial in Chicago, and I think most systems. I think Sonny says at one point it's a name they put at the bottom of plaques on the water reclamation plants. And so Sonny understands that the mayor could not appoint another South Sider, is even blunt enough to understand it can't be another American, African American as vice mayor. And Sonny, he says at one point, that in politics you learn to make use of your ethnicity as unapologetically as you do your good looks or your wealth.
Yeah.
And so he understands why he's vice mayor. The mayor needed a North Sider. The mayor needed someone of a different ethnicity, and he's comfortable with that.
Yeah.
He has great command of his local. Command may not be the. He knows how to kind of sail through those waters in the Chicago City Council. He knows how to compromise between factions. He knows how to make himself invaluable when they're reaching a compromise. And then the mayor of Chicago dies, he becomes the acting interim mayor.
Well, yeah, I don't think we're giving away anything by saying that the book begins with the mayor going face first into a pizza. In fact, we were joking before we started taping about when we chose curry for lunch today. I was thinking, I wonder if we should have pizza. But
I got an email last night from a woman, she and her husband, I don't mind saying this, on News Channel 8, they run the Frontera Grill in Chicago.
Right.
Rick and Deanne Bayless. I got an email from Deanne Bayless saying, I'm so excited, Mayor Daley is having dinner here, and I certainly hope he doesn't order a pizza. She said, I don't want life to imitate art.
I should say you said that on DC Cable too. Did you work on pizzas to figure out the pizza that he would be eating for the beginning scene?
I didn't.
Did you research it?
I didn't work on pizzas. I did spend a couple of days at a restaurant in Brick Lane, Indian restaurant in Brick Lane in London, and one on Devon Avenue in Chicago, where I learned how to make dosas. Yeah. Because my hero, Sonny Rapini, runs an Indian restaurant on the north side of Chicago, and I felt I had to learn some of the fine points.
So he's never really there running it. He has a marvelous grasp of what it means to...
He grew up working at it with his father, but at this particular point he's sort of a notional restaurateur and mostly a politician.
Mostly a politician.
He's the brains of it.
Well, this all happens.
I mean, did you make that chicken curry, for example?
I don't dare take credit for what the people here actually do.
Can I talk about the artichoke and prosciutto pizza, though?
Yes.
Because there, for some reason...
This is an evening program.
Critics seemed obsessed with mentioning that it's an artichoke and prosciutto pizza.
Why?
I can't understand this myself.
I had artichoke and prosciutto soup last night.
And I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, you would never have an artichoke and prosciutto pizza in Chicago. Firstly, not true. But I specifically made it artichoke and prosciutto as opposed to cheese and sausage because I wanted to send a metaphorical message that the city I was writing about, and I think Chicago is, among other things, at once the most distinctive and probably emblematic of American cities, I wanted to kind of send a message. I wasn't writing about the old meat and potato city, that I was writing about the cosmopolitan international city that Chicago has
it's all there. I mean, that old Chicago's there and the new Chicago's there. And I think that for anybody reading the book who knows Chicago, it brings you the pleasure if it's the city you know, but for anybody reading the book who doesn't know Chicago, it shows you a face of Chicago that breaks down a lot of myths. Because I don't know what people think of when they think of Chicago. What do you think people think of when they think of Chicago?
Well, I run into a lot of people who do think it is a meat and potato city.
Yeah. And it has not moved into the new century at all?
Exactly. Who are flabbergasted to discover that the stockyards left there more than a generation ago. Well, and that it's now the world's largest financial market. So
well, I knew that, but I was fascinated because politically, I had never been so immersed in the ground floor of Chicago politics and this whole alderman system.
The alderman system, well, that persists, and it's,
what is the alderman system? What is the framework of the Chicago, political hierarchy there?
There are 50 aldermen in Chicago. It is proportionally by far the largest city council.
And they are in the city. They are the city council.
They are the city council, as opposed to, I believe it's 9 here in the District of Columbia.